Why do pilots get hurt on launch? Hi, I'm Greg, and you're getting safer every day. Remember in the last episode we talked about the landing flare? Today we're up on launch, and we're talking about the #1 skill you need. In this video, you'll learn how to control your glider on a slope, what to do if you're twisted, and the key exercise that most pilots don't do. If you're new here, subscribe and headbutt that bell for notifications. If you want to support the channel and take your flying to the next level, visit flywithgreg.com. You know when you do a reverse pull-up and you turn the wrong way? We've all done this. I did this last week in the Dragon race. Now I never ever get this wrong, until I did. The slope was steep, the wind was strong, and I'd bunched and moved the glider into some grotty scrub. The launch was aggressive, it plucked me into the air, twisted. Now, flying twisted can be very dangerous. So how can we make sure our launches are safe? Here's a pilot kiting a wing up a slope in midsummer in the UK. He gets hurt here. So if that upsets you, please skip to the summary at the end of the video. Let's see what happens and then we'll talk through it. So what can you do to avoid this? Let's run through that again and I'll talk you through it. Right, so our pilot is tired. It's late in the day, he wants to use the power of the wind to kite back up the slope, and it's a steep slope. Now that's all fine and well, but you must have control of the wing when you're doing that. Building a wall is cool, but I would suggest you want to use the A's and C's technique on a steep slope when you're trying to kite. Your final check before you pull a wing up is always which riser is on top, which will determine which way you're going to turn. That's the position you want to keep the wing in. It's 45 degrees to the horizon. Don't get confused by the hilltop, which is maybe 30 degrees off the horizon already. You want to keep the wing just over that hilltop, so that it's pulling you up the slope and it's nowhere near launching you. The mistake he makes here is he walks up towards the glider because he's wanting to go up the hill. The key is you need to let the wing do the work for you when you're kiting and just pull you along as the sort of dead weight. So by walking up towards the wing, that means the wing comes overhead, and also by not putting enough brakes on, the wing comes up over to a flying position. So it's rising and rising and rising, and now it's in a flying position. It's come up overhead and it's wanting to pull forward and away from the hill. Now the wing isn't going to stay directly above you if you pull it up into the wind on a steep slope like this. If you think about the aerodynamics of what's happening, the wind is coming in from the right of the picture, but the slope is redirecting the flow. So instead of having a horizontal airflow, where your wing would probably be somewhere overhead or slightly back from overhead, you've got an airflow that's got a steep angle on it. The aerodynamic balance point where the wing is going to want to sit once it's generating lift in this situation is well forward of you. So the wing is going to pull forward and then gravity is going to do the rest and pull it even further forward from your position. So on a steep slope, the wing is going to surge ahead, and it's not safe to put it up into this position here unless you're launching. So this is the moment where this pilot should do an aborted launch. You see something you don't like, you're not sure what's happening, the wing's pulling you, your risers are twisted, kill the wing right here. And if you've got full deep brakes, really aggressive punch back, you can bring yourself onto the ground with maybe 1 or 2 meters of being lifted. But he hesitates. Over here, and the wing pulls and lifts him off his feet. So now he's in a position where the wing is skew, he's wanting to correct it, and he's airborne. Unfortunately, unless you do a lot of practice, you're going to put the wrong brake in. So what he's doing here, at the bottom of the picture, is the left brake in his left hand being pulled out to the left. That's unfortunately the side that's tipped towards the hill, so that makes it worse. And that's what swings him around. The wing is now diving at the hill to the left. His left hand is still pulling the brake, and it swings him around very fast and unfortunately straight into the slope. So that flight was only 10 feet high. This pilot has got 4 breaks, tibia, fibia, ankle and knee, all shattered. We had the air ambulance, 2 fire engines, 2 ambulances, and a whole lot of police cars that came for the rescue. And in the end, the Coast Guard helicopter was called in that had a winch to take him off the slope. It's amazing how one little mistake on launch can have such big consequences. So guys, keep control of your wing on the launch site. What you need to practice is your abort technique. When was the last time you practiced an aborted launch? Very few of us do it. And as you get more experienced, you practice it less and less because your launches are good, you think you don't need it, and it becomes something that you did a long, long time ago. But it's vital. The way to practice this is to be on a gentle slope to start off with. Do a reverse pull-up as you would normally, and as the glider gets to the apex where you are going to turn and run, practice killing the glider at that point. Take both brakes and punch hard down as deep as you can go behind your back. On your wing, you might need to take a wrap, see what that does and see if it's more effective. The key thing is to practice it over and over in different little situations and keeping your feet very, very close or on the ground. I'm not talking about taking off up in the air and then stalling from a height. This needs to be something where your feet are still in contact with the ground, but your wing has got to that point where it's actually flying and it's wanting to pluck you off the slope. Practicing this over and over changes it from something that you've just seen in a video or you know about into something that's muscle memory. You want this to be something that shortcuts the second of panic, where pilots get lifted, they get plucked, and there's always a moment in these incidents where you'll see the pilot freeze and do nothing. That's the moment where you are trying to process, what do I need to do now? And then you're thinking out your response. You don't have that second. That's the one that's going to get you crashing on the slope. You want to shortcut that second by practicing this and making it a muscle memory. So you know when you say to your glider, abort, that punch kills the wing. So you can immediately switch to that as one of your options. When the wing comes up, anything goes wrong on that launch and you don't like the look of it, you want to be able to hit that abort technique. So practice it. Make sure you do that regularly so that it isn't something you think about, it's something you can just do. Before it plucks you into the air and you're twisted. So remember that launch I mentioned. It was a mistake, for sure. But it didn't matter because I'd practiced what to do, and that is nothing. Your glider will fly fine. Just let it fly and keep your hands high. If you're going to do any inputs on the brakes, keep it symmetric and small. That way, if the lines are twisted up, you're not going to lock in a turn to the one direction. So gentle and small inputs. Then I let go of the brakes and I reached above the twist. The risers were twisted here and I reached above them and just grabbed any of the back lines. Now it can be the brake lines or the C's, it doesn't matter. Anything will work at the back of the glider. You're just doing gentle controls on that. That stabilizes your body and your twist. It gave me time to look down to see which way the twist was, and then I could just flick out and spin around quite quickly. The key is to fly the glider and let it fly you away from the slope. Steer it gently, let it fly. You've got all the time in the world. Your glider will allow you to rotate out just by itself. Don't be in a hurry, stay calm, keep control. So now you've learned how to regain control of a bad launch. If you know someone who will benefit from this video, please share it. To improve your light wind launches, check out Refresher Plus on flywithgreg.com. Have you ever aborted a dangerous launch? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any accident footage of your own you want analyzed, email greg@flywithgreg.com. I'll see you next time when we'll discuss launch checks. Fly safe.